Okay, it's our first podcast. I've only been trying to get Mike to do this for 50 years. I'm Taylor, and that's Mike. We're starting it.
Today's the day.
Only had to drag you down the street, kicking and screaming, with your wife, Beth, pushing you.
So 2 women ganged up on me, and I still didn't do it till now?
That's right. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself. However much you want to reveal today. You know, you got to keep them guessing so they'll come back and listen.
Right, so a little bit every time. I work at places that allow me to explore these ideas, and so that has enabled me to think about some things and to kind of come at some things that I think everybody's struggling with. Stuff that people want to know, stuff that people are asking about.
We are so similar in our spirituality, in mentally things that we challenge with. And so Mike and I kind of are friends who help each other not to feel abnormal.
Right.
To
Good way to put it.
I feel the same way, Taylor.
Yep. And I think people ought to know from the outset we have what we jokingly call the total honesty policy.
Yes.
And that means when one person wants to call the other one out, we call the other one out.
Yes.
When the one person agrees, we agree. And I think that's going to be valuable in this going forward because people are going to know they're getting the real deal.
If I ask you to do something, Taylor, and you don't want to do it, be totally honest with me.
Right.
So maybe you might use this in your own relationships, the total
honesty policy. Can't be broken. And I think it leads to genuineness.
It makes you not feel bad if you say no. Like Mike would say, hey, Beth and I want to know if you want to go to dinner, but be honest.
Right.
And there was times that I said, no, I don't feel like it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's what people need to realize. So I think this is going to be good in this right here.
Because there's other people in my life, when they ask me to do something, I feel obligated. But with Mike, I never feel obligated. And so I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. There was an old saying that he who can turn down a dinner invitation with no reason is truly free.
That's really cool.
I like that quote. Mike,
finish telling us a little bit more about you.
Well, grew up in Columbus. My wife, Beth, and I have been married 25 years this summer. We have 2 wonderful kids.
Yes, you do.
And I think that I've always wanted to do what we're doing now. I've always wanted to do exactly this. And it never came to a formed fruition until you proposed it and got me thinking about it. So I want to thank you for that.
Only took 4 years.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's like a wine. It gets better with age.
Maybe.
I think this is something I've always wanted to do. And the work that I already do has prepared me for this, I think.
Yeah. Mike and I have the kind of relationship where he will say, hey, do you want to meet at church? And we'll go to your church. Are we allowed to say what church, or you want to wait on that?
Well, hold off. We'll keep them guessing.
Yeah. And we'll meet at church, and we'll light candles, and we'll pray. Mike will pray with me. He's an amazing prayer partner. Those are some of the coolest moments of peace since I've moved to Ohio that I've had. Going in that church and lighting candles and praying with Mike, it's a really, really cool experience.
Well, I've learned a lot from you about prayer, and you have taught me how to be real in it and to be sincere and to be brief. I think sometimes we get tripped up in our own words, and we think, as Jesus said, the multiplicity of words get you heard. It doesn't. And so you've taught me that, and I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
But you're right about the peace, and that's a rare commodity nowadays. And if you find something peaceful, it's special.
The other day, I was really having some anxiety, and I was going to call Mike and say, can I bring my sleeping bag and just sleep in that church? Can I just camp out in there for a couple days?
Police would come by and wonder what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Mike has an amazing wife who is just beautiful on the inside and out. 2 amazing kids. He's such a great husband and a great father. I've watched him for 4 years, the way that he loves his family, and it's pretty incredible.
Well, I had a lot of good teachers growing up, and I don't mean academic, I mean life teachers. But you too with your kids. I have seen you with Drew and with Waverly, and the love that you have for them is not only unlimited, but it grows. I've seen it even grow in the 4 years, which I thought it couldn't. I thought it was as high as it could get, and you have loved on them more ways than I could count.
Well, I'll tell you this.
You're incredible that way.
It's not been an easy road, and you've been there through a lot of the hardship of it. And we'll have to talk on another podcast about letting Drew go to Tennessee. That's the hardest thing I've done as a parent so far.
I believe that. Well, as you alluded to earlier, Terry, I think we both share some mental struggles, some things that get us on bad days and things that are gone on good days. And sometimes it's nowhere in between.
And I think things that when you listen to this podcast that you'll realize that the enemy definitely uses, because they're so similar
Yes.
in our thinking. And so biblically speaking, and I don't want to get too far over people's heads, but biblically speaking, it's a good thing about you've got to just really listen to God's words, because he says, put on the full armor of God.
Right.
He knew the enemy was going to come after people.
Right.
And the enemy certainly comes after Mike and myself in similar ways, and it's all mental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the old saying, if the devil ain't messing with you, you're doing something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can take a little comfort in that, but by the same token, it doesn't make the days any easier. And the other piece of that is that sometimes we have to remember that it's the words of Scripture that can defend us.
Absolutely.
I mean, Christ used those in the desert, and sometimes we try to come up with our own convoluted theoretical defenses, and they don't hold up.
That's right, Mike.
But the words of
So
Scripture
true.
tend to take care of it. But we forget to use them, I think.
The word is the sword.
Yes. For authenticity in this, we're going
Yes.
to aim to let Jesus be the center of this. We're going to aim to never pull any punches. We're going to aim to get into some questions that at first may seem uncomfortable, but I think it's what people are asking. And I don't think our shying away from those is going to help anybody.
No,
So I think people should know that this podcast is intended to be a genuine, like we say, two friends and a question. Just sit and talk it out.
And sharing our testimony, I think, too, Mike, of what we deal with
Yes.
on a personal level is going to be fun to see maybe how it helps one person, just one,
Yes.
you know?
And that, even if that's all, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Well, how about you, Taylor? What should they know about you besides what you've told them?
Well, so obviously I'm on a Christian radio station in Cincinnati. My identity is not I'm just a Christian radio personality. My identity is I'm a daughter of God trying to live the single parent life, trying to find my purpose and my place as a single Christian woman raising 2 kids and working a full-time job and just all the things that you do when you have kids, and some people have a partner. I'm over here flopping around sometimes like a fish out of water, trying to figure out how to do it all myself. But I know I'm not doing it myself, because I know that Jesus is my strength. He's my rock. He's leading people into my life to feed me, fill me up, to bless me. Also, Mike, I think I want people to know about me is that, and I think you're the same way, we just want to encourage people.
Yeah.
We want them to know they're not alone.
No, right. Exactly.
And even not just because of a single mom, even a dad who's married, has an incredible marriage, family, beautiful life, you still struggle.
I do.
It doesn't matter. There's no labels that we have to put on this. We're just 2 human beings.
Right. I think it's a great way to put it. And I would add one word to your self-description. You're not just a daughter of God. You're a beloved daughter of God.
Thanks, Mike.
And I think
Sweet.
that on rough days, that word should be stressed within our own minds and to others.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about what we're wanting to do with this show. Mike has just an incredible list of questions that I'm loving. I mean, everything that you've written and said, hey, should we talk about this? Should we talk about that? They're amazing. And maybe at some point, if somebody has a topic they want us to talk about, feel free to email us, and we will put that description of our email in the link in this YouTube video, or however you're getting this podcast. There will be a description of how you can email us questions or something that you're wanting us to talk about as well.
And please do, because I can 99.9% guarantee that if you ask it, somebody else is curious about it too.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not just you. So you might be asking for somebody else.
Yeah. Let's talk about this real quick. So how are you feeling today?
Today was a little hard getting started, little bit of resistance, but I also knew what I was coming to do today, this. And that gave me a lot of hope, because I knew that it's something that we have been talking about for a while. I also felt today more strongly than ever that it's something we're meant to do.
Your resistance, was it being away from your family for the day doing this? Was it the actual physically coming and getting this to do this together? Was it exposing your feelings? What was your reluctancy?
Well, part of it was the nervousness, because I don't have the experience that you have. You're extremely experienced, so I'm trying to catch up. But I don't know if it's the enemy or what it was, but there were a lot of doubts and concerns about going into this and about staying strong through it. Not letting the world speak, but let him speak. Yeah. And that's what my biggest fear was, that I would come at it worldly instead of divinely.
And here's the thing, though. You live in the world. You're a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be worldly is going to be completely normal.
That's a good point.
Because you're not a robot.
Right.
You're not in heaven right now.
Right.
And so I think it's okay for people to be worldly, but still seek God and still try to be a better person every single day.
That's a really good point. And that will help me going forward. My dad used to say, be in the world, but not of the world.
Right. But you know how hard that is when you're in the world?
Yeah.
You know, I used to tell my son this. I lived in the world for so long, and it's a hard thing to not live in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be like if we were at a big party and everyone's drinking, okay, or everyone's doing something, and you're at that party for days and days and days and days. And to be able to say no, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
And temptation, God knew that temptation was going to be part of our lives. So he wrote about it in the Bible.
Several times.
Right.
Right. Good point. You and I talked on the phone probably a week ago, and we spoke about the fact that we think we live our spiritual lives more earnestly than we live the worldly life. And sometimes we're almost surprised to realize we're still in the world because it was the spiritual side was dominating, which I think is okay. But that makes each day a little hard sometimes because you realize you have to still do the physical.
Yes. And Mike and I say this, we've said this together when we've prayed before. There's such a longing within both of us to not be in this world,
Right.
to go to heaven, to be with Jesus because of the evil that we see or the temptations. You know, it's a hard fight.
Right. Right. It is. And I think that's one thing that I've learned over those years of working in ministry jobs is that people have different labels for their problems, but they often come down to the same thing, and that is they feel estranged in this world.
Yes.
And they feel like they belong in the next, but they're not there yet.
That's right.
And there's an angst there.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I can't find anything worldly to satisfy me.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Everything, I mean, you know, it used to be, okay, I'm going to go to a friend's house and that would feel good. Or I'll go to dinner, or I'll go shopping, or I'll go play tennis, or I'll go do these things. And it felt good.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worldly that satisfies what I'm thirsty for.
Right. And sometimes the worldly can get in the way of that.
Yeah. But we also have to remember, Mike, you and I have to remember we are in this world and we do have to live here until our time is up, because God knows when that is.
Right.
And we've got to make sure that we still live our life, not just exist.
Right. That's a good way to put it. And the time and the energy and the resources we're given are not just supposed to be for us.
Yes.
They're supposed to be shared and used for others.
Yes. And Mike is a good person at doing that.
Well.
You are. I'm not a good person at expanding my bubble of people. I'm pretty private, Mike. You know a side of me that I don't think a lot of people know.
Describe that.
I don't like to let people in my world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like people to, maybe it's not like know the real me, because I feel like I am the real me on the radio.
Right.
But I've been hurt, so you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike was part of my last relationship, and I was really hurt.
Yeah. Still
trying to kind of heal from that relationship. You know, still have those days where I think about him and I wonder, why did all of this stuff happen that happened?
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy just staying at my house after I get home from work and never socializing with anyone.
Amen, sister. I call it bunker mode.
Yes.
And I would like to be, frankly, my penchant is to be in bunker mode 24/7. But he ain't allowing that to happen because people keep coming up. And same with you. I mean, especially in your profession, but there's a part of you, if I could put words in your mouth and you tell me THP if I'm right or not.
Right.
The public part of you sometimes watch it in motion and you're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
But I need to do this because this is what I'm called to do.
Yes.
But the inside part's like, man, just give me a book and a bathrobe and leave me alone.
And here's the thing that I struggle with, though, Mike. I love people so much. And so when I am out in the public, that is real. Like me wanting to connect with another soul, okay? Right. That part of me is real. Mm-hmm. But I necessarily don't want to be in a room full of people.
Right.
But if someone comes up to me one-on-one and says, Taylor, I want to meet you, blah, blah. That's genuine. Like,
Yes.
I want to love on that person and I want to know them. And I haven't always been like this. I think I just became a hermit since I moved to Cincinnati.
Is that right?
Yes. And my mom says that Cincinnati has been healing waters for me. It's been a place that I can heal and retreat.
Really?
Yeah, because I never had that.
Huh.
So my mom always says, I think you're just getting caught up on your rest, is what she says. But Mike, have you always been that person that you kind of want to be just home with your family, your wife? You have?
Always.
And some of the coolest times that I've had with Mike and his wife, Beth, are when we're in your house, sitting on the couch, and we get in serious conversation.
Yes.
Like, I love that.
I do too.
And maybe that's what I'm thirsty for. And I don't want to go to a restaurant and small talk.
Right. Right.
I want to know the real inside of somebody.
Right.
And I feel like you've been really vulnerable with me, and Beth has too.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some really good talks.
We have, because you've been vulnerable as well. I think the three of us have found a safe place to talk about real issues.
Yes.
Not small talk.
Right.
And you have a real talent for making the person, this is what you said earlier, and I realized that you have a serious talent for making the person you're talking to feel loved.
Oh.
You are really good at that. And your fame at what you do in your job has led to you meeting more people, and you've been able to practice that. And I've watched you do that, and it's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, Mike. And I genuinely do love people, and I genuinely do want to know the struggles that people go through. But maybe it's like a one-on-one thing.
Yeah, right, right.
So have you always been the person that just wants to stay home?
You mean between Beth and I, or in general?
In general.
Yes. But all my jobs have been public.
Yeah.
And so I've had to create an extrovert type personality to do that. And I think you're right. When I'm in the moment, one-on-one, I can feel their soul, and that's great. But if you give me a choice and there's nobody needs anything right then, I'm fine with just chilling.
Yeah. And Mike, you and your wife are very well known in your community. And so I think you also have that when you're out of your home, you kind of have to be on 24/7.
Yep.
Mentally, you and I like to shut things down.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to rest our minds.
Yes, ma'am. What's interesting is it only took us a couple years to figure it out, but Beth and I, when we get to Kroger's, have to do 2 carts, because if one gets caught talking, we're there for 20 minutes.
Hilarious.
Which is beautiful. The talking is good to help somebody. I love it. You got to keep going on the groceries.
You guys, especially in your community, are very well known. So I can only imagine. I get it on a small level, but you guys are really so.
I think you're being humble, and I think Beth's the one of the two of us who's more well known. But it's a good thing, but it enables us to help talk to somebody, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But it also, sometimes you need a break.
But I know you guys love your community so much.
Yeah.
So tell me this. Does it interfere with your marriage? Because Beth is, wouldn't you say she's more like wants to go out?
Yes. Well, she's introvert naturally too, but of the two of us, she would be more wanting to go out than I would.
Yeah. So how do you guys handle that? You've just learned to mesh with it.
Well, right. When we first started dating, what was interesting is that Beth wasn't stuck in a classroom all day long, and she wanted to go out when I would come down from Columbus to take her to dinner on Friday night. And I was out all week for my job, and I wanted to stay in, and we were realizing that was causing a problem. So we just started balancing it, where every other week we do something else.
That's awesome. Can you tell us how many years you've been married?
It's been 25 this summer coming up.
So will you celebrate the 25th in a big way?
I don't know. We talked about it, but with Jack in college, and he's got some stuff going on, and we may not be able to.
Right.
But we'll do something.
Yeah. 25 years. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you love most about Beth, about being married to Beth?
She's a genuinely good person.
And she adores you.
Well.
She does. When I've had some of the most intimate conversation with you guys as a couple, she is a big cheerleader of Mike's.
Well. Without her, I don't know where I'd shudder to think where I'd be.
Aw, I want that.
Taylor?
We're going to pray for that during this podcast.
We are. Somebody somewhere is going to luck out.
If I can just get over the last one.
You will. We're praying for that one too, remember?
Yeah, we are. We are. Yes.
You have so many gifts and talents, and you're beautiful on the inside and outside. It'll only take a matter of time.
You're sweet. You know, Rob Lewis at Star 93.3 told me that in the Bible, Paul talks about singleness being a blessing because you don't have to worry about another person. So I'm just taking those words and I'm ingesting them. I'm digesting them or ingesting them. What would that be, Mike?
You're gesting them.
Okay.
Go with that.
I'm excited to see, people that listen and kind of get to know us, and we get to know them as well. We want you guys to comment. We want you guys to email us. We want you guys to be part of this community here. THP, Total Honesty Policy.
Right.
That's what we want to be.
It's enforced from day one, from right now on. Can we talk a quick bit about the format?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I want to make sure that people understand what we're aiming at.
Yeah.
We do have, I think, two friends and a question kind of summarizes it, but I think we're going to come at it from real life questions that people want to know, but also from a Christian standpoint, of course.
Yes.
But I think folks can apply what we talk about to their lives, hopefully, and maybe it'll be something that they wanted to know or just now thought about once they heard the question. But I think it's a way for us to hash these out together. Two friends.
Can I just say like a couple of the things that you have written down that I love? Some of them?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So here's some of the things that we're going to talk about. Do you have trouble forgiving people? What does happiness mean to you? What are you searching for? How important is family dinner together? Are we too hard on ourselves? Those are just a few, but I mean, he has so many that when he was emailing them to me, I was like, these are so good. I can't wait to talk about this because I can relate, especially like the what are you searching for and what does happiness mean to you? I can't wait to talk about that one.
Me too.
But those are some things. And here's one other thing, and I think Mike would agree with this. I never want you to feel like you cannot listen to this podcast or you don't belong here if you are not a believer.
Agreed.
Because I always think about who would Jesus be sitting with? Who would Jesus be talking to?
Right.
And so I never want you to feel like that we are saying, oh, we believe and we're better than you, because that's not the truth.
No, ma'am.
So everyone is welcome here. And as you listen to the podcast, maybe you will find Jesus.
Right.
That would be such a cool thing.
It would, but listen no matter what. Mike,
I'm excited and I'm so proud of you. Finally being able to step out of your comfort zone, get out of the boat, and go for it.
Well, Taylor, I want to say that having you in your experience and your very person, you, not just somebody, but you, when I've spread the word about this in my little circle, people said, oh, you're working with her. Well, then this is guaranteed to work. So you have a lot of fans out there, and I am honored, and I truly mean that word, honored to be a part of this.
You are too kind, my friend. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Welcome to our first podcast.
Please keep coming back. Please keep coming back. Please keep coming back.